Well, welcome back to Bizarre Sunday. My name is Andy Matsky, and this week things might look a little different because I am joined by a special guest. Matt Buchanan is out of town, so this week I am joined by a husband, brother, son, and my best friend, Mark Lloyd Price.
That's me, guys. That's me.
That's Mark.
I'm Mark. I'm not Matt, in case you couldn't tell.
Yep.
I am also not the Cavs basketball player. I'm not that guy.
Yeah,
I'm not that.
He's
Mark
a
Price.
different Mark Price.
Same height though.
That's actually kind of crazy. I was very tempted to try to track down a Mark Price t-shirt because I think I saw like a Hardwood Classics one with like him on it to wear for this episode.
I'm sure they're out there. I've actually never seen like any Mark Price, like other than like his jersey.
I have a jersey of his
I've
I could have worn.
Anything else with him on it ever.
Yeah, I think I saw one like an Instagram ad that was him. So
I think I've seen like there's some of them shirts that have like the old retro like basketball games where like they show players with the stats.
Yeah,
I've seen him on one of those.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure. Homage. I always say it.
Homage.
Kind of wrong. I'm sure they have some Mark Price. Shout out Homage. They're a Columbus company.
They are. They are.
They've made it big. So this week's episode is going to be something quite special. I originally wanted to title, and I still might title this episode, "The Power of Friendship." And that's back when my idea for this show was just to have you on and essentially just goof off the entire time. I was going to maybe just ask you a string of random questions. We might do that sometime here, but I was running the idea of the show by somebody else. I was running it by Brett. Shout out Brett. We love shouting out Brett.
I love you, Brett. You're a great guy.
And I was like, I'm thinking of doing this. Like, what would you want to see? Like, writer's room. This like sometimes you don't have to be the funniest person. You just have to know funny people. So it's like, here's some ideas. And Brett, for whatever reason, bless him, responded kind of seriously and was like, well, I'd love to hear his testimony because I know it overlaps with yours. And I was like, that's a great idea. This is what I should have done the whole time. And like, after I saw that text message, I really was like, oh, dang, I should have thought of that right away. Because, I mean, first of all, congratulations for being the first guest on Bizarre Sunday.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
You aren't the first person I thought of having on, but you are the first person I asked. You're the first person I asked, and I only asked somebody else as like hey, Mark's not like completely locked in.
Yeah.
Will you step up? Maybe.
Maybe
if we need to like make this work, but I'm only gonna be able to let you know on like Friday.
Yeah,
because it would be by that time that we're like having to scramble to get things together.
Yeah.
So, congratulations. And when I thought of you, I hope you know, you were the one. I was like, or I could get Mark, and then it was like, oh my goodness, I could get Mark. I have to really try and beg to hang out with him in this moment.
You didn't beg that hard.
It was one text message.
I said, that'd be hilarious. As long as it works with school, I'm down.
Yeah, and that's kind of the case for both of us. So this week, I do want to ask you, how did you come to know Christ?
I mean, that's a long story, but I can also make it a short story.
Take as long or as short as you want. And I might ask you questions if that's
okay. You jump in whenever you want. All right. So just the background, the setting. Grew up in a Christian home, great Christian parents. I went to a great church my entire life. In fact, my parents were marriage counselors at that church, New Community Bible Fellowship, Cleveland Heights. Shout out Pastor Kevin, great guy. They were marriage counselors there for, I don't know the number, a long time, double digits. So I went there, and then I went to a Christian high school, Cornerstone Christian Academy. I started going there when I was in kindergarten, and I went there all the way through 12th grade. So all of my life was like Christian focused. Like I was in the Christian world, like 100%. no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And that's kind of just what I grew up in. That's what I was used to, and I got very good at the language and the way I act. Like people never. I was the kid no one had to like worry about. Like and like I didn't. It's not that I took pride in it, but I never wanted people to ever worry about me. Like that's still how I am. I don't want you to worry about me. So in the context of being around like genuine Christians, I didn't want them to think they had to worry about me being a genuine Christian. So once I got to the age of like I can think now, like my brain works and I understand the world a little bit.
Which is approximately when?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
Are we talking about like consciousness around like preschool, kindergarten, or are we talking like middle school when life actually starts making sense?
I'd say it's probably like I'd say it's when I really started understanding. I wouldn't say fully understood the gospel, but like knew enough of the basics to be like I could communicate it with an adult clearly. So maybe like first or second grade, like that was instilled in me. So from that point, I was like, okay, I gotta look the part, and so I learned how to look the part. And it wasn't like anything. Nobody told me I had to look the part. I just took that upon myself. So I did that for a long, long time, and I knew it wasn't genuine. And there for a long time, I was questioning myself all the time, but just put it aside, move forward. I'll figure it out one day. And a common theme that happened, at least within my family, was that my immediate family was everyone kind of had like big experiences that they can say like, okay, this like really defined like when like I turned my life to God. Like my dad had a really rough childhood. My mom had a rough childhood. My sister had a really, really like traumatic event happen when she was in 8th grade. Like a lot of people had moments or at least periods of time that they can point to and be like, yeah, I went through this really tough thing and I only got through it because I trusted in God. And ever since then, it's been up from there. And I for a long time I was waiting for that moment. For a long time I was like, oh yeah, something tough's gonna happen. That's gonna be when I prove it. And I'm a Christian now and we're gonna be all good. And that never happened. And it was just like, oh, okay. When's the tough moment gonna happen? But in reality, like that tough moment was already there. I just didn't know it. I didn't understand that me feeling that inadequacy and me feeling that me feeling the need to like fake my Christianity was like that's what I was struggling with. That was my big rough moment. And these are all things happening in my mind, like elementary school, middle school, right? And then I get to good old high school where I met this guy, but I wasn't friends with you for a while. But fun fact, we didn't become friends until like the end of senior year.
Yeah, I think we had a good 2.5 months, maybe, because it was maybe it was right around March. If we want to be conservative,
yeah.
or maybe not even conservative, be generous. That's the right word. If we want to be generous,
yeah, I think
say March.
I'm gonna say it was like right when I started hanging out with people, not hanging out with people again, but right when like senior basketball season ended, because we got a couple rounds into the playoffs, and once that ended, it was like, okay, I'm free. I have a car this time. I can hang out with people. And that's when it started.
And for those who don't know, we went to a small private Christian school. So we knew each other
Yes.
for the like 4 years, 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And
I knew your name. I knew your face.
Yeah, we had been around each other. We weren't really.
I knew what car you drove.
Yeah, we weren't really in the same classes, but like we had a kind of a working knowledge of the other person, but we were not friends.
No,
I don't think. Well, no, I know we didn't. We didn't text each other or communicate with each other outside of high school before senior year. I would be willing to put money on that.
Oh, I would. I can put money on that. There was we were not communicating.
Because it wasn't until Mission Barbecue Gang that we got each other's phone number.
That's
I don't
true.
think. Or no, we were. I was in one of the group chats by then. I don't want to dox everything, but I was in one of the group chats by then.
I probably still didn't have your number though.
Yeah.
You probably just were just a number in there.
Probably we can. Okay, so the power of friendship part of this we can tie back. I don't want to.
We'll get back there.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
I'm not. I do not want to interject myself.
That's okay.
At all into this testimony.
We're getting there, but yeah. So, get to high school, and it was all the guys in there. I feel like we were all at the same place. We all knew that we were struggling with things. We all knew that these things weren't good to just let sit and fester, and that we needed to turn to the Lord. But all of us were just having too much fun, like not turning to the Lord, like being goofy, like freshmen that like have no conscience.
Well, yeah, and it's on multiple
great.
levels of like what you're talking about, right? There's the obvious, and I think we can, again, not to interject myself too much, but we had this freshman year, we had this men's Bible class that was a purity class, and so the law started to do what the law does, and it started to show us our sin. But even like
there's a whole lot.
There's that level of things, but then there's also, I think there is this level where I just look back and we were all idiots. like I don't know, and like all. And idiots might not even be the right word, because we were all idiots, and we were all mean and grumpy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look back, I've been thinking a lot about like freshman year, which I was only at Cornerstone the second half of my freshman year, but freshman year was just so rough on so many ways that I'm like shocked I had any friends coming out of it.
I don't even know
that
who your
like
friends were at
that
the
like
freshman year.
I don't know if I could tell you who they were either, but the fact that like sophomore year came around and Dan Davis, shout out Dan Davis, was still willing to be like my friend.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That's fair.
It is insane. So
that's fair. There are so many stupid memories from freshman year. Like I vividly remember helping out at the Jamaica dinner. You weren't there, but we were helping out at the Jamaica dinner.
A fundraising dinner.
It's a fundraising dinner for people going on a missions trip to Jamaica.
Yeah.
And it was me, Byron, and Josh, and Emily.
I might have to bleep names.
It's okay. It's okay. And we were in the kitchen like cleaning up.
No, I might have been there because I think I helped with the Jamaica dinner my freshman year.
I don't know. I just remember.
Yeah, I would have been there because it's the second half of the year, right?
We were. Somebody picked up the garbage bag and the whole thing blew up. So, like, threw it over the shoulder, flew back, garbage everywhere.
Wow.
And then I was literally like, I watched that happen, was like crying, laughing, and then I look over and it's Byron and Josh like playing with bubbles in the sink. And you know what I did? I went over there and played with bubbles.
Yeah.
With them.
So another thing about, and I know we're gonna. This will draw us back. A thing you need to understand about at least our experience with a small private Christian school is, for the vast majority of it, we're very unified. I think in many different ways. Even with me, I was it's a bit of a loner. For the first 3 years. Well, first year, second year, third year, like sophomore, junior year, also still a bit. Yeah. But you had no choice but there was like either you had to be with this wonderful group of people, like with this grain, or wildly against it.
Oh, yeah.
And like wildly outside, which is not to throw shade. We definitely aren't everybody's cup of tea.
Oh,
but like that's
sure
not. Yeah, that's not to like throw people who weren't with us under the bus or people who haven't like stuck around. But it's like there was such unity and there was such a like camaraderie that in such little ways, and I think you talk about playing with bubbles. I mean, it's in the context of being stupid freshmen, but I guess just to talk about our friends, there's a level of like innocence amongst it that is, I mean, I went on a camping trip with those two guys and Jack just now and like a couple of weeks ago, and it was equally like this level of innocence that I just love so much about my friends. let me talk about what I love about my friends, since there's frequently episodes of the show where I talk about what's been difficult without naming names. But like down to, we played the like name, like the alphabet game where you have a category and you name different things. We played that in the car for like
really
half an hour on this camping trip, if not more. Yeah. Anyways, so there's supposed to be a good transition in there somewhere. Oh,
That's
so
okay.
we are stupid freshmen, but one by one, the tide starts to turn, especially with the guys.
Yeah. It all started with the guys. And like you said, it started with that purity class with good old Mr. McQueen. Again, shout out Mr. McQueen.
Yeah, shout out Mr. McQueen.
I mean, obviously it wasn't him laying down the law. It was the law laying down the law and doing its thing. But he did a great job of showing us the law and showing us and giving us the resources to like really learn and understand where we're at. Because that purity class, I don't know if it was specifically like that curriculum that he had that year, but that purity class has been going on at CCA for a while. And I feel like that was the first year where he was able to really click with multiple guys. And I mean, really, like you said, he really clicked with like 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and then that spread to other people.
There were the guys who like right around that time started taking their faith seriously, would say they got saved and all that. But we really, kind of as a unit, again, like the vast majority, we're talking, I mean, there's only less than 20 guys in that class.
It was like, I'm going to say there was like 16.
Yeah, 16, 17 guys.
At the time. And there were like 12 really close ones.
And for the most part, yeah, there's like 12 of them that are really close. And if not, I'd say, if we're saying there's 16 guys in that class, 14 of them, which might have been what you just said, like starts really gelling together, or at least like kind of gets on the same page.
Yeah.
I think is so interesting.
There were 3 guys who I think it really started with. And at the time, so this is freshman year, then we go on to sophomore year, and those 3 guys, like, that's when you genuinely start to see them like acting different. Like they're not being that. We all were still idiots. We were still idiot freshmen, but they weren't nearly as idiotic. As
they were wise fools at their sophomore year.
They were, yeah, you're right. They were wise fools. And everybody else I felt like was still fools. And being able to see them even have the slimmest sliver of wisdom was like, whoa. Like I saw that guy playing with bubbles a year ago. I saw him doing that. And now it's like he's leading the class. He's able to communicate what the word says and be able to like help people out and genuinely like be a leader. And teachers would ask him to do stuff. It was like, whoa, like if he can do that, why can't I? And like again, it all was around that problem of purity. That was where I struggled. That's always where I struggled. And I mean, that purity class showed a lot, but I didn't do anything about it. It was, I saw how guys were changing. I saw how it was spreading one by one. So now there were 3, now there's 4, then there were 6, and then there were 8, and then there were 10. And this is happening over the period of from like freshman to senior year. And by the time we get to senior year, a lot of these guys are like, I'm not gonna say legit, but like they are like they've really grown. And
they're legitimate role models in a way.
Yeah.
I would totally say that I looked up to those guys
100%.
at that point, especially like kind of those first 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, so those first 3 or 4, they were like that they were looked up to, and I think they knew it, not like in a prideful way, but like teachers,
they owned it.
They owned it, and teachers were like, "You have this opportunity." Not like we're going to force you to do this, but they were like, you should step up and be a leader to these people. And they were. And it was amazing. And you can see how even how it spread out from the guys to the girls in the class as well. It started with those 3 guys, and slowly like we got an entire class, or at least I'd say the vast majority of a class to like be genuine, or at least be in the place where we can have genuine good conversations about Christianity and where people are at, and how and just literally just how they need Jesus without it being like regular old high school. Like Cornerstone did an amazing job of showing the Bible in every single class, but like it's different when your classmates are able.
Yeah, and I think I use the phrase a lot of like there was something in the water, but it really what God did both through our peers and our teachers was show, and like I'll say it, like theology and practice.
Oh yeah.
I think you had a couple teachers who were pastors turned teachers, or part-time pastors, part-time teachers, who really were unashamedly driven by what the Bible said and what they were convinced it meant.
Yeah.
And who instilled that in an environment of not like, this is what I believe, so believe it, and not in like what would be considered like indoctrination, but in a spirit of, okay, so we're having a discussion about, does God test you? Where in the Bible do we go for that?
Yeah.
And like that simple first step, and not where do we go in the Bible? Let's go to this one passage that says exactly what I think, and
leave it at
move
that.
it.
Like,
no, yeah, it's well, the Bible says this here, and it says this here, and oh, you're right, it does say that there. Let's talk about this.
Yep.
And making this like conversational and showing this like practical. It's part of why I don't believe you can separate well done theology and like practicality. It's because of what I had in high school, like, and that what did
amazing
work
stuff
in high school as a 17, 18-year-old idiot. It worked. And like, I don't know, it's really, you kind of can't, and I'm cutting you off, I know, but it's like,
that's okay.
You can't, and maybe you can, and smarter people than me could, but you almost can't like pick apart exactly what it was outside of the work of the Holy Spirit.
It was the Holy Spirit. There's no,
because you
nobody could have done what happened.
You had this group of people where you look around them and you are seeing people who are taking their faith seriously and taking that into whatever discipline of life they may have, where you had people who, okay, maybe these two people are going to go be pastors, but then you have these two guys who are equally taking their faith seriously, are kind of part of the same clique. And we didn't really have cliques in our friend group, but there were people who would hang out.
In the beginning, we started with like ninth grade, because some people came from one school, other people were at CCA the whole time, and there are other people like you who came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and there are cliques, but like there's cliques, and within those cliques, kind of to finish this thought, is like there's two guys who the furthest thing from their mind is going and being pastors, and we can kind of bring this back up later, but like
I'm gonna bring up one of them real soon here.
Yeah, but like the furthest thing from that, and yet they're still taking their faith seriously. So you see that like, and that's part of why I beat that like a dead horse sometimes, is like, okay, just because you're thinking of things theologically or in big words, it does not mean, okay, the next step's Bible college, or the next step's leading a Bible study. It's
mandatory.
It's not mandatory. But you are thinking in these terms. You are thinking like you are taking your faith seriously. So it's this weird dynamic that I saw this on display in high school. So these guys are it's now, let's fast forward. It's senior year.
It's senior year now. So jumping to one of those two guys who furthest thing from their mind was to become a pastor. Everybody knew he did not want to be a pastor, but he had a leadership role, and he knew it. And I mean, he still was a goofball. We all were goofballs. We're still seniors.
We all are still goofballs to an extent.
Anybody who's hung out with us knows we're still goofballs. But this guy I look up to, and we had devotionals every Friday, like amongst the seniors only.
We had devotionals every day.
No, like only with the seniors, like in a homeroom or whatever it was called.
Because of COVID, we had devotionals every day from our peers.
I'm confused. That's what it was. Yeah, because of COVID.
I think, well, no, I might have lied. It might be we had assemblies some days, but I think the majority were
before
our
COVID,
friends.
it was assembly every
Yes.
day except for Friday. That's what it was.
Because we went through a pandemic.
We did go through pandemic was junior year, which is crazy. But one of these days, that guy, he was giving a devotional, morning devotional. Nothing. We've done this a million times before. And he gave his devotional on Ecclesiastes 1 and 2. Now, I barely remember anything he said. I'll be honest. I really don't remember much. But what he did communicate was like the very basic idea that you need Jesus. I mean, that like without Jesus, life is vanity. That's what he got across. And I remembered that. And I was like, like this one's I've heard a million devotionals up to this point. This one's tugging a lot differently than usual. And that was on Friday. I remember the next day, Saturday morning, for the first time in my life, I sat down and read the Bible on my own accord, like for no other reason. Again, I've been in Christian home, church my whole life, in a Christian school. So I've read most of the books of the Bible at this point. But every time I read them or I learned a passage, it was because my parents wanted me to read something. I had to memorize a Bible verse for school. I had to memorize a Bible verse for church. I had to summarize a chapter of a book for school. Like everything was for school. It was never like, oh, I'm interested in this book, I want to learn about it. Like, no, I read a bunch of it, but it was all for academic or forced purposes, you could say. Terrible wording, but that's all I got in my head. But he gave that devotion on Ecclesiastes, and I said, I wanna like look at this for myself. So Saturday morning, I made the grand old decision to read all of Ecclesiastes in one sitting, which is like, it's not a huge book. I'm not saying it's a long time, but if you haven't read Ecclesiastes, it's it's blunt. And I that's how I need things. So it worked perfectly. And it gave off the basic point of without Christ, everything is vanity. And for a 17-year-old who's nothing but goofing off, that was a pretty heavy hitter. And I said, ooh. So it turns out these past 17 years have been vanity. And the rest of my life is going to be vanity if something doesn't change. If I keep going the way I'm going, despite having all the access and opportunities and people around me, and I'm seeing guys in my class who used to be just like me grow in their faith, have genuine faith, and become leaders and real Christian men. I'm watching them do that, and they're open for me to go to them and help me out, help me understand what's different. If I don't do that, everything's still going to be vanity. So that was pretty heavy hitting for a 17-year-old, and that was like tugging on my mind for a long time. And this is where it gets goofy, where I can't say there was like a specific date and time. I'm one of those people. I ain't got.
Yeah, I don't think that's goofy, but I think I'm biased.
Time, guys. I don't got a date or time. So I want to say that was March, because the mission trip was April, and so a little while longer we went on a missions trip. And during that missions trip, this is where the friendship started. On that missions trip, after a devotional, which I also don't remember what that was on, but again, I started feeling the heartstrings getting tugged, and I was like, oh goodness, like something's got to be done. And you felt the same way.
Was it that one? Is it the one I went up to you? It was on Luke 8.
Yeah, Luke 8.
It was on the parable of the soils.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the part so it's a miracle of its own that we've gotten this far into a podcast about us remembering things from period, I think. Because
fun fact about us, we have terrible memories.
We have really bad memories between the two of us.
Memory of a cheese.
I think you could memory of a cheese. I think you could write a book with the things we've forgotten of being friends just for the past almost 5 years. Luckily, it bounces out like in moments like this where it was on Luke 8. And this is the point of me bringing this up. I don't know what I was thinking. Really? I was thinking about this today where I don't remember necessarily what was going through my mind. And at this point, I almost feel like it's revisionist history if I say anything. But what I know is Okay. So Mark and I had started, and this is enjoy the power of friendship. Ready? Mark and I had been acquaintances with each other, like barely acquaintances with each other since freshman year, since I had started.
We both took a CAD class.
We both took a computer-aided drafting class.
We were boys in there. I liked his music taste.
Yeah.
He liked mine.
We liked each other's music taste, and it was almost to the point, like, and it was the part of the friendship was starting here, where I was like, yeah, I like this popular artist, but this is my favorite thing. It would be like we'd have the same taste. Like,
it'd be like, oh, I like that guy.
It wouldn't be It wouldn't be like, oh, it's exactly the same. But it's like, oh, I love this Travis Scott album. I'm a big fan of this Kendrick Lamar album, and or oh, you're hip.
Pop Smoke started.
Oh, okay. This is what some kids don't understand, man. Pop Smoke is what got us. So like that's what got us tight.
Technically, that's what did it.
Was a shared love of Pop Smoke.
On the drive to Wendy's.
Pop Smoke, dude.
we got in the little black
the first. That was that.
It was
the first time we like hung out.
That was the first time. Yeah.
A group of us were going out.
I don't know why I drove with you.
I don't know why you drove with me either. Maybe you didn't have a car.
I didn't have a car.
You didn't. Well, have a
car. I definitely did. I probably just.
So we drove together in my Honda Fit, and we were listening to Pop Smoke, and you said that what system is it? It wasn't the right one. Yeah, that one was better than mine. Mm-hmm. And you said some more stuff after that, and we were crying, laughing, and that's kind of when the friendship, started. What was the point? Okay, so we're in Elizabethton, Tennessee on this missions trip. Gavin gives this devotion on Luke 8 and how you can't expect the good soil to grow if you're among the weeds of the world, because that's part of the parable is the cares and desires of the world are what choke out the seed. And I think even to Gavin's point, he said this after, like, it's a questionable interpretation of the parable of the sower, but it worked in the moment.
It worked really good.
And not to be pragmatic, but it worked. And I really think it was, and maybe this is where I set up as like, oh, I don't know what this was, but it's to cover what I think I remember it being. It really was, okay, well, I know some of the things that have been affecting my faith. And you and I had become friends well enough that we had talked about our faiths, and we had kind of, like, we had a very open and honest class. Yeah. And when we started hanging out, which was like the Wendy's trip, there was another
3 weeks before.
Yeah, there was another time that we were like waiting for a boys' night that it was just the two of us.
Yeah.
That we like would talk about certain things and be like, "Hey, I'm still going to be your friend," even though like we're just starting out being friends. Like, let's just be honest with each other about certain things. And so I had known like kind of where you were at, and I think we both were at the stage of approaching the feelings of like, dang, I think I missed out.
Oh yeah, like, no, it was 100%.
I missed out. I did not take
every opportunity.
Yeah, I did not take full advantage of what was here. And it's now April, and we graduate in mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was like, I got like 3 weeks left.
And so I was sitting there, and we weren't at the same table. I was over with some other people, and I was thinking, okay, this message hit home.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, when I give my testimony, the Colossians 3 moment had happened like a day or two before, where I go out and read Colossians 3, and the message of, if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, and not the thing, but put to death the things of the world, had hit home, and my eyes had been opened to that, and so now there was this message, and I was like, well, if this is affecting me, I know Mark's feeling similarly about other things. Mm-hmm. I should go talk to him, because I see the friendship that these two people have. I see the friendship that this group of people have. Yep. We were not in a friend group that was like the leftovers, but we were in a friend group
we were in like a spiritual spot of like
we
were over here.
We need each other.
A lot of people are over here.
And we are where like each other's at.
Yeah.
With a lot of things, and without even talking, like, this is not, I think we had talked a bit about Ecclesiastes. I had started taking my faith more serious around January.
Yeah.
But that was even failed attempts at stuff like very self-righteously taking my faith more serious. And I went up to Mark and was like, hey, like this, do you want to like, because this is the good part of like a private Christian school environment is like, hey, do you want to like hold each other accountable? Like we got to get rid of this stuff.
Yep.
If we want to live for God, and we both do, we got to get rid of some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And by God's providence, Gavin, who had given the devotion, sat with us. And I mean, I've kind of hopped on the story again,
okay.
but it's
you were there. So
yeah, and he showed us a couple other places he showed us. And I only know this because it's places that were early actually marked up in my one Bible. He showed us 2 Timothy 1 or 2 about a good soldier doesn't get entangled in civilian pursuits. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, okay, dang. And the cool thing about getting saved and kind of like taking your faith seriously around the same time as somebody is you and I went from, I think literally on that missions trip, we went from rapping Pop Smoke to singing Beautiful Things, not the Benson Boone song, because the Benson Boone song didn't exist yet.
It was Beautiful Things. That was the song.
And you and I were singing it, and we kind of like remixed it a bit. I think
probably that we do that.
Sounds about right for us. We like chopped it up a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But we went from that, like we went to that, and it was kind of like, and I mean, a lot of people have been there, right? That like emotional high moment. But it really was like, okay, we're here. This is what we're gonna do this, and we need to
move forward from here.
Yeah, and we have a month we have a month of high school once we get back. And
we also had the mindset, because I was a big thing for me was at this point I knew I was going to Ohio State, and I was going with I was going with my high school friends, so I knew I was going to have like a stable roommate situation because he went to Cornerstone as well. So I wasn't like worried about him at all. But I was worried about the fact that I'm about to leave the Christian home, the Christian school, and the good church I've been in, all three of them my entire life, and go to Ohio State. I was like, ooh, if I'm not solid by the time I get there, it's not looking good. So like I was thinking this even before March when I heard Ecclesiastes. I remember talking to my sister. I was like, I almost feel like I made a bad decision, like almost fully committing to Ohio State, because what if I'm not solid spiritually? Like what happens when I get there? Because anything could happen there. And I was like,
So you don't have a date or time, but what changed? What was the difference?
I'll say the thing that changed. So that like during the missions trip, we had that talk and we were like, okay, we're gonna take this serious. And I think the thing that really started to change was the lordship aspect. The idea that we are living for him, and that every day, everything we do is for him, and that he is Lord over all of our lives. We can't just pick and choose, okay, I'm going to have him here, but over here, there's this one thing I really like and I've been doing for a long time, right? Where I just can't let go of it, and he can't have that. He can't touch that. It was God, my life, I live it for God. It was Galatians 2:20. Like that's what it was. It was like, okay, you know what? This is where we're at. And so it was a lot of just like in the beginning, it was just learning to be obedient. And I think we both agree on this. Like it initially was, okay, we need to like fix our purity problem. And then it quickly became, oh, well, it turns out I also have this problem. Oh man, I also have this problem. Oh, wow. There's another big problem. And it quickly became, he doesn't need to just fix. Like, it's not necessarily about the purity problem. It's about our heart problem. It's about like, we are dead in our sins and we need Jesus to save us. And it just became way bigger than initially I think we thought. Even though, again, we both knew like the terminology. We both knew that like when you're saved, like it's not just about one sin you have, like he's getting rid of, like he's changing your whole life. We knew that, but we didn't experience that. And so we started experiencing that and living a genuine like lordship focused life where we're obedient and we were living for him.
Yeah, and it's this, and lordship can be a theological trigger word, and I don't even know if within our audience it is.
I don't have a synonym.
But yeah, it's the idea
I tried thinking of when I pronounced
to
this.
like that it is not, you cannot separate having Christ as Savior and having Christ as Lord. And that's kind of define it maybe to people who don't know what we're talking about. It's that there's no such thing as a saved person who is not living a life of obedience empowered by the Spirit.
Yeah. He was, I think we could both say he was like our saviors. Oh, we thought of him to be our saviors. Yes. He was not our Lord.
I thought of myself as a Christian. I thought of myself, hindsight, and maybe even then I would have been as like pretentious to call myself like a biblical theist. I thought that there was a God and that the God of the Bible was true. And I was like a creationist and check all the boxes with that. But I probably would even call myself a Christian. I 100% would have called myself a Christian. But I did not understand where my obedience fit. I did not understand where, and to be fair, I think the answer to that, and I would have not articulated it this way in that moment, is I did not understand what the gospel meant.
Yeah.
And what the gospel meant, and it's what Colossians 3 says. It's, if then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above. Mm-hmm. It's Colossians 3:1. So it's your obedience is on the basis of Christ's finished work. It is not, and that's what I want to be super clear about what we're talking about. It's not, oh, we realized we had to work real hard to earn our salvation.
No, not that.
It's,
I was trying to say that.
Which I don't think it was. I think that's answering hypothetical misunderstandings of what we're saying. It's on the basis of Christ's finished work. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I am saved because God saved me.
Yeah.
By sending Jesus on the cross, that whoever believes in him will be saved. It's because of the work of God in Christ and now the work of the Spirit in our lives that we can live lives of obedience. And that's part of why in those early days, reading 1 John was such a big thing, and reading Romans was such a big thing, because we were reading those, and it was like, dude, what we've kind of been saying, like, the thing about no one who believes in God will keep on sinning. John says that. Yeah, like I can like remember.
It was like all these passages we'd seen like every day, or not every day, but we'd seen so much. It was like, it makes sense.
Well, it's even
I see it.
Yeah,
like
and
the Lord opened our eyes.
And it's even to the point of, I remember around that time, it was every single time we heard the word taught, it was like, wow, that's exactly what I've been missing. Yeah. And like I've never thought of it that way. And I think, and that's what's really cool. And I love to hear about your testimony without, talking this through beforehand, is the presence of the word it's still there, and it's always there. I mean, reading Ecclesiastes is what did it, which that's so fun.
It's a heavy hitter.
And I mean, even for me, I know, and it even was 1 John, because Mr. Snook was teaching through 1 John in his devotions, and it was, for me, a big thing was I knew I was a sinner, and kind of that same stage of like, this is all vanity. It's like, well, I know I'm a sinner, because I was in purity class, and I've been in church my whole life. I know I'm a sinner.
I've even felt bad about me being
a
sinner. I felt really bad.
And I've even wanted to go to heaven. Yep. But what am I doing what is this? What am I doing in the meantime? Like, I'm a sinner and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And it was living there for years for me. Like for at least 2 years of living in the state of knowing I was a sinner, which again, and I make this qualification because I feel I don't feel the need to, but I want to. Like, this is in spite of the denomination I grew up in.
Mhm.
Like, this is not you won't hear this in Lutheran churches talk, especially with how heavy-handed the Lutheran, a conservative LCMS Lutheran church is with the gospel. It was that I didn't have the ears to hear and the heart to understand. There's, I think, instantly, and this is something that I really wish I could understand more, and I think I'll only understand in heaven, is instantly you and I believed in a sovereign God, a God who was in control of our lives. I mean, in lordship and in bringing all of creation to his desired end, because I think we saw that in our lives. And I don't want to speak too much for you in that, but like, it was kind of like, okay, we were in this like reformed Calvinistic environment, but even then, I think that's what helped to give the answer. But like, man, it's not like, oh, and I believed in Calvinism and that's what saved me, because the guy leading the missions trip that we're talking about was from Friends Church.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like, and
not Calvinistic,
not Calvinistic guy,
not at all,
and yet God worked through all of this, worked through the Calvinism, worked through whatever the right word would be for Friends Church theology, worked through our upbringings to bring us to a place where we both thought that we were Christians. And then God showed us in one way or another that we weren't really, and then showed us how to be.
He did everything for us.
That
it was 1 Peter 3:18. For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous. And it was like, man, like, I'm that unrighteous guy. And he still stepped in as the righteous one and died for me, so that I may be brought back to God.
Yeah, and it's 2 Corinthians 5:21 that for our sake he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Mm-hmm. That, and I think big ones at the time were like Romans 8:1. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ. Like the understanding that God laid on Christ all the sin of those who believed, those who like that the payment on the cross was effective. Yeah. Period. That was part of what did it. Like, that's
I think I know I was definitely in a spot where I knew the facts that no matter what, you're never too far for God. And I was like, I didn't feel that way. I was like, how could he save me? It wasn't even like, how could he love me? It was, how could he save me? Like, it makes no sense. And you said this once, like in those early months of us being saved, like having that mindset, like you don't fully understand the gospel and how much he loves you if you think that. And that was a big thing. It was the gospel. I didn't fully understand the gospel. I didn't understand how much he loved me and how much, that played into my disobedience. Like my habitual disobedience, because I didn't understand the gospel and I didn't understand how much he loved me, despite me being in that environment for years and years and knowing all the right words to say. So it like that, like you said, that mission trip is what did it. And then there was like a 2-month period where me and Andy literally hung out. It wasn't every day, but we never went
almost every single day.
More than one day without seeing each other for like
it was like 2 months
until I started dating my now wife.
And I moved an hour away,
and then I moved to Columbus. So a lot of things.
Like I'm not. I don't want to let you blame Holly when I moved an hour away.
That's true.
Like August 1st.
A lot happened that third month of the summer, but
we hung out. I think the longest we didn't see each other was like 6 days, and that happened, or even not even that, because I think that happened later, but it was literally like 2 days. And I think, to be fair, it wasn't just like we'd see each other and like hang out for a little. It was like we'd hang out all the time.
It
And
was
it's like
all
once we
day.
got off work, it was, well, once I would get off work, it's like we would hang out till like 2 a.m.
Yeah, I remember because obviously me and Andy hadn't been friends for like all of high school. So my parents at this point, you know, me being the kid who's been at CCA from kindergarten, my parents know every kid that's in there. My parents had no clue who
Who's
this dude
Andy?
was. Like my dad asked me that multiple times. Who's Andy and why are you hanging out with him? I was like, I don't know. He's a kid in my class. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. And it was like, I just thought it was funny. Like, that's how quickly like the friendship started. Like, to the point where nobody knew. Like, at least a lot of people in my family had no idea who you were. But it was like you were my brother, and like he had the most impact. Well, God had the most impact, but God used him a lot in my life early on, and literally anything I read or you heard or I heard, like it went straight to you, or straight to me.
It was
immediately direct. And like you said, every day, like we still goof off, we still would hang out and do like the random things, but it was almost always with the mindset or intentionality of going to have like a conversation about something, like something spiritual.
Yeah,
Or maybe not necessarily, but it always ended that way.
It would. I don't know if we'd even did it on purpose,
I don't
because
think
it
we
would
did.
be like, hey, come over and we'll like listen to music, or hey, like let's go to Cleveland,
Or like, hey, let's go to CVMP.
yeah.
Like it was a lot of that, and like we just would end up talking about our faith and what we've learned and how it's impacted us for like 3 hours. Like
It was a really wild time. And like what was really funny, and I was just talking to somebody about this, was the fact that you and I were at the end of the summer, especially when you moved off, we were like, well, this was a good run, we'll see how this goes. And I was explaining that to someone in the context of like, yeah, we don't really talk too much anymore and we don't really see each other anymore, which either really concerns some people or some people really get it. It's one or the two. There's kind of no in between of either people thinking we're actually not best friends or we hate each other now.
Yeah, I think some people have the idea that we hate each other. Like, are you and Andy still talking?
Or yeah, or
I'll be like,
or that
no,
there's
not
any.
really. I haven't texted him in a while. I haven't called. I don't really call him. Andy usually calls me, so I don't.
Yeah.
No, we haven't talked. I'm like, are you guys good? Yeah. What are you talking
why
about?
wouldn't we be? Because it was
good.
And that was like part of this too. Was like you went off to Columbus, and it was like, hey, I'm here for you. I'm gonna like keep you accountable. But if you make other friends or get busy, like this was good. This was fun, man.
I got a girlfriend, and I was like, yep, Andy.
That's it. And yet it was like, and yet the miracle of technology really helped us. I mean, I don't have it anymore, but like Snapchat really kept us together, because we just send each other videos, and I'd call you a ton. It really helped that I was going through it for like 10 months after all that. So I just kind of like, hey, we've already been telling each other everything, I might as well tell you this. Okay, so if you're watching the show, you'll notice things are a little different. So I ended the show because we ran out of video memory.
It was my fault.
Mark took up too much memory. And so if you're watching the show, there's probably a screensaver on right now. We actually continued the last little bit of the interview. Mark gave his concluding thoughts. And
it wasn't that much, I'll be honest.
It wasn't that much, but it was enough of a conclusion. It was more of a natural ending. If you're just listening to the show, nothing's different. And you're probably wondering why the flow of the episode got interrupted. But it's okay. Enjoy Mark's conclusion.
My one thing from Ecclesiastes at the very end, chapter 12, 13, and 14. This I think this is a very good way to sum up my testimony, and like at least my conclusion from senior year, I should say. Not, it doesn't sum up my testimony, but my conclusion and the mindset I was in. The end of the matter, this is verse 13. The end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. So it was a mindset of just, he sees it all. He knows everything I've done. And if I don't change, I'm just going to be met with judgment. And I didn't make, even though it says fear God, I didn't make the decision to follow Christ out of fear. You know, it wasn't really me. He was the one doing it. But it was because of the gospel and how much he loved me. And I had that lordship fear, you could say. And that's when things started to turn around.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This has been great.
This has been great. I gotta come back, guys. I gotta come back. If you guys ever want to hear part 2, I'd say chapter 2 of the Mark and Andy friendship,
The Power of Friendship special.
yeah. If you want to see chapter 2 of Andy in Akron and Mark in Columbus,
Wild
those
times.
periods of life where again
Wild.
a lot happened. Andy had a lot going on in life. I was confused,
And
in
yet we
Columbus.
still went to Mansfield like twice.
You guys
Right up
can hear
there.
about the Mansfield story.
Dude, we just I
the
think
apocalypse.
the apocalypse spot. I think what's really great about our friendship is that there's time for seriousness, and there's also just so much silly,
so much goofing off.
wild, random stuff. I mean, down to the fact that like we've gone to so many concerts together.
Oh yeah, fun fact, guys. I think I've gone to like 10 concerts in my entire life. I'm pretty sure 9 of them were either with you
Yeah.
alone or you were there and you were the reason I went.
Do you remember that we were going to a concert on Tuesday?
I do remember.
Okay. Are you still down?
I am still.
Okay.
I did. I thought it was this Tuesday. So this Tuesday, I was like about to text you. So like,
Yeah.
I just got out of school and we still don't have a plan.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then I went, oh, it's next Tuesday.
Okay, sweet.
And then I literally went, I'll text them later.
Yeah. We can talk off air, but about the little plan that exists right now. Yeah, it's Mark and I's friendship's been great. Even though we don't always know what the other one's doing at every given moment.
No.
Turns out you can function and have a healthy friendship while not being always in each other's business. So if you want Mark back, make sure Matt's out of town. You can contribute to the
Matt
Cooperstown Road Trip Fund by private inquiry.
There you go.
If you want to contribute. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We'll have to have Mark back on.
He'll be back one day
soon. Like, comment, subscribe. If it's okay with Mark, I'll link his social media.
It's really just Instagram.
Yeah, his Instagram in the bio.
I don't even have it downloaded right now.
Yeah, I also the Bizarre Sunday Instagram presence is like barely there. So I'll upload his stuff there. We'll be back next week. And have a good one.
Deuces.
Every Sunday morning I'm in service.
So what I normally do
is
we have this music that plays. Did I tell you about this?
No.
I got a producer who produces stuff for Eclesso.
What?
Yeah, his name
How
is.
did you pull that off?
So, his name's Jonathan. He goes by the name GLEECE. I don't even know, Jonathan, if you're
GLEECE?
listening, I don't even know your last name, GLEECE. And I found his music. He was on a song with Wolf, with WXLF, Eclesso, and him, and it was some other guy, and the other guy might have been Gavi.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that. No, it definitely was Gavi. So I found him through that because he raps on that.
Okay.
And I love his verse on that. But I found him through that. You know how we dig. And then he either had like just released solo music, or I found his socials, because I was like, he only had that credit, I think, at that point. And I was like, why does he only have this credit? I really like his music. So I found his Instagram. I started following him. And then he released his solo project. And because you know me, I'm not a poser. I actually am a nerd for music and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a beat tape, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And one of the beats on the mixtape was this song called Remove Yourself. And I loved it. And from the start, I was like, dude, if I ever, this song, I do have my phone. It gave me like late night talk radio vibes, but at the same time being this like, what's the right word? Like Creole inspired, like he has Haitian roots.
Yeah.
I think. I'm sorry if I'm wrong about that, but it was this like funky.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's two worlds colliding.
Yeah, it's
but
like
very
this
well.
synthy, and you know me, like it's this late night synthy, which that's probably not even what it is, but that's what the vibe it gave me. It's this vibe of like, okay, like the synths, but then there's even like a vocal sample that's in another language, and I loved it. So this is all to say, that's what, and what story am I even in the middle of? I reached out to him. We started the show and we didn't have music.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want something.
Yeah.
And I'm too lazy, and I know they can suck, at least they used to get like royalty free music.
Yeah.
And even like, cause you have to pay for it almost all the time. If it's like free, it's bad.
Yeah.
And if it's like royalty free, you have to pay for it, and like in perpetuity. And I'm like, I don't want to have to keep up with something to like keep the show going. If we put the show up on the internet, I don't have to like keep paying for it. And I was like, well, I wonder what would happen if I reached out to GLEECE, because he doesn't have a big following.
Yeah.
But I love his stuff. And so I reached out to him and was like, hey, can we use, I'm doing this podcast that like just started. This was like a few episodes in, because I wanted it to be a few episodes in that all actually looked decent in case he like checked us out.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm doing this podcast with my friend. It's about this. We pretty much are just doing it for the guys in our youth group, which is still pretty much the case. And I like, hey, can we use this? And like, he got back to me like pretty much right away and was like, yeah. And there's some more to the story. He's like, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And he's like, but I can send you some unreleased stuff. And I was like, yeah, do that. And then he took a while to get back to me, which is fine. No worries. He sent me the stuff. I listened to it. I took a while to get back to him. And long story short, I was like, yeah, can we just use Remove Yourself? Because nothing invoked the same thing that this did for me. And so we used that. And this is all to say, you've now been listening to the part, because what I do these days, and I did it in the last episode, and I'm going to do it with the rest, is I'll play the like way end of the song. It's not a long song, but I'll pretty much play the whole song.
Yeah.
And then once it fades out, there's normally something at the end of the episode.
Ah.
And so I guess this week it'll be story time.